All right, so Hoda's on our way. That's great news. I'll just get going introducing Talknow. So Talknow is an online coaching platform. We're located here in Berlin. We have hosts from all over the globe, from various different nations. Our coaches speak 17 languages. And we have something to suit every budget. So if you've ever been thinking about hiring a coach, this is definitely a great place to start. You can browse through the options, find men, women, all different ages, all different budgets, all different types of subjects catering to your coaching needs. I was actually just on the phone with one of my best friends, and because I was having some personal issues, and I asked her for Hoda's coming, and I asked her for some advice, and I said to her, Bia, you're my coach. You're just the person that I go to if I need help. Hoda, welcome. Wait, I'm just unmuting you. Oh, wait. There we go.
I just unmuted I think I had the option to can you hear me?
You can unmute yourself. That's right. Yes.
Okay. Hello. Sorry for the few minutes of a delay. I was
difficult
just trying to get in.
Yes, but I'm so happy we made it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Another friend of mine also just texted me and said, I really want to make it to this and doesn't know how. What can I do to let this guy in?
Register with the Eventbrite. So like 3 emails went out with the link. So
okay.
If they haven't registered, then I can, you can forward them your email possibly, or otherwise, yeah.
Okay, all right, well.
It'll be recorded. That's the good news, everybody.
Yeah, we can always, yeah.
You can rewatch it tomorrow or any other day at your convenience. But yeah, without further ado, so this is Hoda Zekavat, one of the Talknow coaches, someone I had the pleasure to meet recently. Hoda, I will not say too much because I'm sure you can introduce yourself and your own work much better than I can. So I'm going to pass the mic.
Well, thank you very much, Katja. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy and honored to be part of this project that Talknow is running. Yeah, my name is Hoda. As you know, it's as simple as Hoda. I always say if it's difficult, you can just remember by remembering it's kind of like Yoda with an H. So may the force be with all of you beautiful people out there. I am a coach, a transformational coach, self-concept to be specific. So what I do is I work with your core beliefs, your unconscious beliefs, what you really believe about yourself and what you tell yourself behind closed doors in solitude when nobody is around. And I believe that those beliefs are what is running the show of your life. So I'm here to talk more about that today around the theme of careers and career shifting and how to go from being in the passenger seat of your life to the steering wheel of your life. So that's what we're going to be covering today. And I'm really excited to be here with you to cover that. And of course, your questions. We will cover 3 points. Tick, tick, tick. And we will cover your questions in between. So please, I believe in the pen and paper. Keep the pen and paper close by. Write down your questions. And then Katja will hand it over to you to moderate.
In fact, can I just jump in to mention there is a chat function on the bottom of your screen. And if you have a question at any point, please go ahead and just write it into the chat. Otherwise, I do believe that Hoda will take a few breaks for you to ask your question. So you can either save it for then, or you can just write it in between. It's no distraction to have a little question pop up in there, or a comment, whatever you please.
All right. So we're going to keep this as short and simple as possible, really. And I actually just really quickly want to say your names because I like to know who I'm speaking with. This is an interaction. Yes, so we've got Lynette, Gazale, Nora, Elena, Tim, Sudeshna, that's a beautiful name, Anne, someone with El Mitwali, Albert, Katie, Hemant, I think, Ines, and Chris. I think I named everybody in here. Wow, awesome. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to start by asking, and I want you to not be shy, please, because if you're shy here, then I mean, where else are you going to be courageous enough to really be vulnerable and tell us what it is that's really stopping you, holding you back from moving forward? I want someone to please volunteer and tell us whether you are in a place where you would really like to take a step forward, change your career, or start your own business, or just you've got a big goal and you feel kind of stuck. Is there anybody out there who can share with us? No one.
Crickets.
Okay, we've got. So there's one person who says, I'd like to change my job. Do you feel comfortable to share what it is that you feel might be holding you back, Albert? Can we turn on his mic?
You can turn, Albert, you can turn on your own mic. In fact, everybody who wishes to talk can turn on their own mic if they like.
Okay. He says, I'm working as a salesman and want to start with a creative job. A very, very common situation right now for a lot of people, especially given the current situation of post-corona and everybody being online and feeling that they have that opportunity. Okay, thank you very much for sharing that, Albert. So the first thing that we're going to talk about that is a very general element, all right, that seems to hold everybody back in all my years of being in interaction with people, with clients, with students, is a problem with identity. So when I don't know exactly who I am, where I come from, who I am today and where I want to go, where I'm headed, what my goals are, what my core beliefs are that cause me to set that particular goal, what my core value is that causes me to stay up at night. When I don't know those things, how can I possibly make a decision and stick to it? How can I possibly say, all right, this particular creative job is what I want, and then we all know we're gonna face some kind of obstacle, one obstacle after another, in fact, especially the first 2 years of starting a business, of starting anything, of any kind of pursuit. You're gonna be faced with obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. The first big obstacle that hits, what is going to be the guarantee that's going to keep me going? That's going to stop me from wanting to throw my hands up and give up altogether. If I don't know exactly who I am and as a result of it what I want, then naturally, there is a part of the mind called the unconscious mind. All of you are familiar with it. And it's driven by fear. Naturally, my fear is the thing that's going to make the decision. And I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to go back to a corporate job. You know what? I'm going to go back to being a salesperson. You know what? I'm going to go back to a job that's going to give me the security and safety of a year of being sure that I'm going to pay the rent. So identity and identifying your core beliefs and the core value that drives those core beliefs is absolutely key. Now that's a very, very general idea. I'm sure a lot of questions are popping at this point. If there are any questions, I'm open. Let's take a few minutes to think about that.
Excuse me, madam, are you recording the session? I'm just asking.
I am recording. Yes, I just replied. There'll be a recording available tomorrow.
Thank you.
So questions relevant to what was just talked about. Are there any questions? Okay, so they might come up later. The second
I said
element.
it's
Yes.
about leaving the comfort zone, right? From the secure routine.
Yes. Sorry. Can you
Also
repeat that,
earlier
Katya?
stated, I'm afraid to not be good enough, but others tell me I am.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a little problem because basically I am a researcher, and I would like to switch off my job after 10 or 15 years to the politics. Is it advisable to go there? I'm talking about in the Indian politics.
So it is absolutely not my place to give you any
Oh, sorry.
advice.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
thought that.
No worries. Thank you for asking. But I'm definitely not a consultant in that sense to advise whether you should or shouldn't do something. That would require in-depth coaching and talking to you one-on-one and really digging deep to see where you see yourself, where you are right now, why you have decided to go into politics. So, yeah. There was another question. It's about leaving the comfort zone, right? From secure routine to a place of discomfort. Absolutely, Albert. Yes. It is definitely about being comfortable with discomfort. So essentially, what we know is that we're stepping into the unknown. That's all we can know. Now, how can I do this with a more sure foot when I'm stepping into the unknown? You can do this when you believe in yourself. You believe in yourself enough to persist through the first shaky 2 years that are going to throw all kinds of curveballs at you. That is going from completely unsafe and lack of comfort to slowly stepping outside of that complete panic zone to a place of, okay, things are starting to look up. This is an entrepreneurial path. And then you fail, something happens, and you want to give up again. You can go right back to your comfort zone, or you can keep persisting. The point that I'm trying to make is that the difference between people here in this stage of constantly failing and persisting, or constantly failing and going back to the comfort zone, the difference is that self-belief, that series of core beliefs that are going to stop you from running back to the comfort zone. There is nothing in the world that any one of you can't achieve. I believe it in my veins and in my very bones. I have never had a client who, through being coached and persisting through the journey and through commitment to the coaching process, didn't achieve the goal that they wanted to achieve, even though they started out with a lot of fears. We all start out with a great many fears. However, we have been built, every single one of us, with immense potential, deep reservoirs of potential to achieve anything we set our mind to achieve. The difference between the ones who actually do achieve and the ones that end up giving up is persistence. How can we achieve persistence through the unknown? Self-belief. So how can I acquire self-belief? That we come down to this question. How can I believe in myself enough? Well, you need to go through a really laser-focused phase of just focusing on working on yourself. That's called doing the work. When in the coaching field, people constantly say, do the work, do the work, do the work. It means cut yourself off from all distraction. Stop dating. Stop swiping. Stop going back and forth from job to job. Get laser focused on yourself. And when you do get laser focused on yourself, when you do the work of finding who you really are and what your preferences and boundaries are, which is number 2, then you can stay true to you no matter what and believe in yourself no matter what to persist through those 2 tough years and finally see things coming into place. Now, this number 2 that let me open this up better. Number 2, the second element that causes you to be in the passenger seat is no boundaries. So what are boundaries? Essentially, a boundary is a line that you draw and you say, inside of this line is my current preference. Outside of that line, I don't prefer it. Now, your preferences can change, obviously. However, what is your current preference? It's very important to know what it is that you want that defines your beliefs at present, right now. We're not talking about the future. We're not talking about the past, right now. So that will be your boundary. When I draw a line and I say that I will definitely not go back to a corporate job, for example. Corporate job is outside of that line. Inside of the line is my business, for example. This is my boundary. Yes. Now, you may have to build that boundary. You may have to start knitting from scratch what your boundaries are. One of the greatest problems that most people are struggling with is a lack of knowledge of what their boundaries are. We waver because we want to be loved and accepted by others. We want safety and security. So in order to achieve, in order to have safety, security, love, and acceptance from society, from the people closest to us, from people who have their eye on us, who don't know us, but who might be critics, yes. We want to have these wonderful, beautiful things. And so based on that need, we waver back and forth, waver back and forth. This wavering back and forth, which is something that we've all experienced, maybe experiencing right now. We all experience it on some level in different areas of our lives, whether it's when it comes to careers or relationships, or food, the simplest of things, yes? We waver back and forth and we wonder why we don't achieve results. Results come with consistency. When we know our boundaries and we stick to them, we stick to those boundaries. That's being laser focused.
How do you, so this is super interesting to me, Hoda, if I may interrupt.
Yes, of course.
Just because you're finding me on a day where, it happens that this particular subject you're addressing, rings very true to me, because on a personal level today, I've had to deal with a group that basically was made possible through me. But now there's a lot of complaining, and my gut feeling tells me, shut up. You should be happy you're in this group because it was set up for you. But there's a part of me that wants to, hold up a democracy and let everybody, have their word. But it's not possible. If you have a large group, it's not possible. So, and to me, personally, I find it really hard to have an outside perspective. I'm sure most people do have that outside perspective of something that affects me subjectively and emotionally. So, and I spoke to my friend, my coach friend, who also said, you need rules. You need to lay down the law. You've been too lenient. She was like, you're too lenient. You need to make an official post, and you have to have a no nonsense kind of policy for this size group. And you need to just be like, this is the law. You don't like it, you leave. you know,
Yeah,
which is
the
not
thing
like
is,
me, but like, it's, you know, I'm glad you're like stating that as well, where it's just like, yes, these are my boundaries. I'm not happy. And like, you might not like me laying down this law, but this will be the law.
that's the thing. Exactly. Katja, thank you for sharing that. The thing is that I would go all the way back to the science of the brain. The brain, everybody's got a brain, right? And the brain says, I like rules. I like structures. I like to have a set of bullet points that tell me what to do and how to do it right now. Okay. Especially when we have large groups of people to deal with, we need more structure, right? To make sure that there isn't much chaos happening. So even though it might seem like dictatorial, or we have this like aversion toward, oh my God, laying down the law means that I'm gonna seem like this bad teacher with a ruler. That's not the case. You know, I think that laying down the law and setting boundaries can be compassionately and empathetically done. It just has to be communicated with a softness, you know the boundary, know the rules, but communicate it in the most loving, I'm going to be brave enough to say the word loving way possible. Alain de Botton of School of Life says one of the greatest things that we are struggling with as a human species right now is the inability to communicate with each other in a way that helps us to truly understand expectations and boundaries. So it might seem intimidating for us to communicate to each other what the boundaries are. A lot of people in relationships end up going really deep into a relationship without having communicated their boundaries for a long time. And then they realize, I need to go because all my boundaries have been stepped on. And then years later, they realize, oh, I didn't communicate them myself because I just wanted to be loved and accepted. And if they would just teach us in school how to communicate our boundaries in a way that doesn't push people away, I think we would be much better off. But hey, it's never too late. So let's learn that today, now, as adults. This is what I'm passionate about. This is why I do what I do, is because I don't remember being taught anything that I learned through pain, really over years of making mistake after mistake. I didn't learn any of it in school, where I spent years and hours of my life.
And so this, I think this point is fascinating because it's not something I thought about too much before. And I, especially within my example, I completely see how this is true for a leadership position. How is it true for a more, like on a smaller scale, on a more private level?
It really works quite the same way. What I teach is nonviolent communication. So nonviolent communication is very simple. It's just 4 simple steps. The man behind this is a genius, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. He says that if we could just try to convey to each other what our needs are in the simplest way, I'm just going to tell you real quick here. This is a whole workshop, but simply it's 3 things to start with. Number 1, avoid using you, because it makes the person feel unsafe. When I say you, it quickly becomes an accusation. It takes on the tone of an accusation. So focus on me, focus on yourself. Say how you feel. So instead of saying you made me feel, that's an accusation. Nobody has the power to make you feel a certain way. You feel a certain way because you may have been triggered by something. So you say, I felt this way in this situation. I think that this is how this situation is laid out. And 2, avoid using always. 3, avoid using never. These are generalizations that are just recipes for disaster. So a little research, there's lots of YouTube videos on nonviolent communication, or NVC, and I think that this is a relationship saver, really, with a dash of love and empathy. All right. So I'm just going to really quickly check for couple of questions here. Lynette says, my biggest struggle is with the fear of the unknown, as you have rightfully put it, the fear of risking all my dependence. I have boundaries, but I realize they are very fluid. Okay, all right. Thank you for sharing that. There's no question. I think that's more of a comment. All right. But if there is a question, please do share. Okay.
I think what many people are struggling with, you know, they're hearing what you're saying and they're probably seeing what you're saying, but they're also like, this is how I feel as well, right? So it's like, how can I take this struggle, and how can I just implement what you're saying? Because it's one thing to hear the words, and it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, this sounds really true, and like, you know, I'm sure that there's lots to it and I want to try. But how do you go from hearing the words and, you know, like basically matching your inner with your outer reality, right?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Because it's also like what your circumstance is and who your family is and, you know, your employees or whatever. And it's not a straight line. It's not like, oh yeah, I'll do that. That's great. Okay, starting tomorrow, you know. It's a process. And maybe you can, I don't know if you have an example, maybe from your private practice, where you can share an example just so people can, you know, because I think, I'm sure it can be frustrating to be like, this sounds so true, but I just don't know where to start, you know.
Right.
And people, I think, you know, I think it's, I'm sure you'll agree, there's no overnight solution, you know. There's no one way where you wake up tomorrow and you do everything different and then boom, things just fall into place, you know.
Right.
So maybe this is something you can talk about, where you just explain what the journey can look like.
It's definitely a journey that starts with setting the intention first and foremost. You really have to set the intention intentionally to go on this journey. So if it's still at the back of your mind and you're still thinking, there's time for this, or I'll do this later, or I don't have time for this right now, which is one of the greatest lies that we tell each other. I don't have time for this. What do we have time for then, if we don't have time to lay out what it is that we want our lives to look like? So setting the intention is the very first step. And I would highly recommend not just setting the intention in your head and in your heart, but using pen and paper. So actually giving yourself the time and the respect of 10 minutes maybe. And usually this becomes such a wonderful experience that you might just get lost in it, and it'll last maybe more than 10 minutes, but that doesn't matter. It starts with 5 to 10 minutes of taking your pen to paper and allowing yourself to write the intention, to write, what do I want? Big, top of the page, and begin to write about it. Begin to write, what is it that I want? Allow yourself, trust everything that you could ever possibly need. Every answer to every question is already within you. All right. So trust that it will, in fact, be discharged through your pen. Once that pen touches the paper, your unconscious mind starts to flow. That's why it's called stream of consciousness, because it's literally a stream that happens through your pen, and you will see answers to your questions. Dr. Jordan Peterson says, one of the greatest things that you could do for yourself is to actually sit down in the quiet and solitude of your room and write down, what are the stupidest things I'm doing, the most absurd things I'm doing to stop myself from reaching my goals? And then start writing. And you will be blown away by your answers. He says, I quote, "You'll have your answers so fast it'll make your hair curl."
And then what's the next step? So let's say I write that down and I'm like, holy moly, I can change that. Then what happens next? What do I do next?
So what I specialize in is reprogramming, so to speak. So what is reprogramming the mind? It is essentially unlearning the old core beliefs that you understand. You see it on paper. These are some core beliefs that come on paper that you see. Okay, this is what's holding me back, or this is what I want to be and do and feel, but I'm not at present. So we get at those core beliefs, we unlearn them, and we replace them through a series of tools. I add some tools to your toolbox to help you to solidify the new beliefs that are going to get you different results. So really, the tools that I say I add to your toolbox, because everybody has a toolbox, everybody, from all walks of life, no matter how old you are, where you come from, you've got a toolbox that you use as strategies to deal with life's problems. But these tools are infinite. You can be so creative with them, and that's what NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, is all about. To teach. So my coaching really isn't about you becoming dependent on my coaching, but to teach you to be creative with these tools and to fly with them as soon as possible. So you need to basically learn to strategize with every single unknown, every single problem that comes your way. Know which tool is best for that situation to employ, to utilize, to have optimal performance. NLP is about optimal performance. That's the core theme of NLP. How can I have the optimal performance according to the resources and tools that I have? So you need to basically just, based on the tools that you have right now, like pen and paper, which is one of the most powerful tools that anybody can use for free anytime, strategize to make sure that your state of mind is in an optimal place. Because when you're in a good state of mind, you are able to achieve things with more energy. So for example, one of my clients, most of my clients really, when they come to me after a week or 2 weeks, a little bit down, a little bit, bogged down with responsibilities, things to do, etc. And through some of the things, the exercises that we do, their state of mind completely shifts, and they leave the session a brand new person, charged up and pumped up to take on anything. Now I tell them the thing that they need to learn on the journey with me on my program is to learn to do that on their own. When that energy dips by the end of 2 weeks, you need to learn to raise that energy again using those tools on your own. The two tools that I would leave you with on this session today here, pen and paper, I cannot emphasize it enough, and meditation. This is your greatest tool, meditation. I have merged NLP with meditation in my practice. Meditation is the thing that will ground you, is the thing that will help you understand who you really are, who you really want to be, and it will help you to start your day on a completely different foot than what you're used to. So if you want to change a habit, meditation is your best friend. And we're all about changing habits. That's what we're made of, habits. Yes. So find out your habits through writing. Find out your core beliefs. Know what you want to shift. See what tools are best to strategize with, to shift your habits to habits that will serve you. But you can't do it without changing your beliefs about yourself. So in order to shift your beliefs about yourself, this is an unconscious thing. You need to do some reprogramming. You need to do some serious unlearning. And coaching comes into play here. And that's why coaching is so on the rise today, is because we need help doing this. Look, I always say, if you have parents who are older than 30 years of age, anybody who's got parents younger than 30 years of age? Probably not. If you're an adult who's 25 years old or older, you've got parents who are older than 30 years of age. There is no generation gap between you. Because of the technology advancement in the past few decades, there is an era gap between you. So no matter how loving and wonderful your parents were, no matter how hard they tried, really, and we all love and respect our parents, for the 21st century individual, it just wasn't enough. So we all need to do some unlearning. We need to do some learning, way more learning than what was taught to us during the first 2 decades of our lives. Are you with me?
You're touching on a point that is so fascinating. Are you saying that because a generation is what it is, and I'm assuming you're, maybe referring to the internet and just this, widened consciousness that we have because of it, and because of, this awareness of the world that just wasn't there before. Are you saying that we need more parenting than we were given, from our mothers and fathers?
Very well said, actually, yes.
Okay, that's fascinating. I've never heard that before, but I would love to know more.
So this is actually called reparenting. There is something called inner child healing and inner child reparenting. And as adults who spent their childhood in a time when technology was just beginning to sprout, and then now being the adult in this technological age, we do not have enough tools and enough rearing for this age. So Dr. Gabor Mate also says he is a specialist in trauma. He spent 12 years in downtown Vancouver among drug addicts. And he claims that we all come from trauma, being born into this world. Like, let's go further back from, never mind the technology age, let's go further back. Just being born to parents, to a family, is traumatic. So we all need to heal and reparent that child within us that has been carrying all kinds of wounds to protect itself. And it's really that time of being macho and pounding our chests and pretending to be strong and not vulnerable. It's over. It's over. This is a time for healing. This is a time for reparenting that hurt child within so that we can move forward, because these are times that are really fast. The pace is crazy. And in order to keep up, we need to heal first. You can't limp forward in the 21st century. So yes, reparenting is absolutely required. So healing is a big part. It's a stepping stone of our journeys. I hope that answers your question to some extent.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, like, can you just say a few more words about like how this digital age, I mean, like, can you actually boil it down to some like major challenges that come with, this reality that we're in?
Well, one of the greatest things, and Dr. Yuval Harari, a writer of, I'm sure many of you have heard him or seen his book in bookstores. He's a bestseller, Brief History of Homo Sapiens. I'm sure that many of you have seen this book somewhere. He says that in the future, what's going to happen is we're going to be living a lot longer. We're going to be living 150, 200, and even up to 500 years, he claims, as health is enhanced and we become healthier. And one of the greatest challenges for us will be to reinvent ourselves. And I think that we're already there. I think we're already there right here, right now, especially after the corona situation, everybody's thinking about reinventing themselves. Everybody's thinking about, okay, how can I do what I want, what I love in the online world? So you need to keep up. The pace is very fast, and a lot of people are rethinking things, rethinking how they want to move forward and take the steering wheel of their lives, essentially. So technology has allowed us the space and the freedom and the opportunity to do what we want. And that can be very scary because, again, I quote, I don't remember the writer for this, but most people are not afraid of their darkness. They're more afraid of their light, of how they will shine. And we all are standing on the edge of flying, and we're all scared because we haven't been flying all these years. It's been employment and contracts and just, other people making decisions. And now you're almost thrust into the behind the steering wheel. So you're like, how do I do this? What do I do? Can I do this? Oh my God, I can't do this. Yes, you can. Actually, this is where we're supposed to be. I think that we're supposed to be running the show of our lives, and it's a beautiful thing. And again, that's why coaching is on the rise, because we can't do it alone. We need to hold each other's hands on this journey. I, as a coach, have needed coaching, still need coaching. I believe that coaches need coaches and coaches need coaches. It's just this chain of, and I see it as in a very optimistic light. I see it as something beautiful, that we are connecting more. We are realizing it's more about give and take. We're realizing it's, how can I serve you? How can you serve me? It's about service now. And people are slowly but surely beginning to realize that, because we are extremely smart creatures, a lot smarter than ever before. And it's the most peaceful time the earth has ever known, as Yuval Harari also says. So as these smart creatures who are essentially pretty safe, like we're not in war, we don't struggle with famine for the most part. In most developed, we are in developed countries, so in developed countries, we don't struggle with these things. So people will question how genuine and authentic you are with the business that you are creating and offering. So you need to do the work on yourself to be authentic, to know who you are and to know what kind of service you're offering the world. People are smart. People are very sensitive, energetic creatures. They will know if you're trying to rip them off, that the couple of decades of salesmanship and, loud salesmen and just trying to hit it rich overnight, it's over. It's over. It's dying out. Now it's about, who are you? How do you want to serve me? What is your service? What is your product? How is it going to make my life better? Why have you made this product? Are you passionate about it? Or are you just trying to make a buck? This is a question that's on everybody's minds, and fair enough. I think that's excellent. This will make every single one of us in time really look within, be introspective, and be true to who we are and what we have to offer. Because it's not going to work otherwise. If we want to make it in the 21st century, if you want to survive, you need to thrive. And you can thrive by staying true to yourself. In order to stay true to yourself, you need to stop and find out who you are.
Well, that's beautiful and so inspiring. I took lots of notes. I love this idea of, you saying we're born to fly, we're just scared to,
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. And I'm pretty sure that, everyone in this room will agree, like they can, think of at least one, if not a bunch of situations where this rings true. And it's, it's professionally, in relationships, in just, you know, discovering yourself, you know, just questions of overall well-being and freedom. And it's so interesting. And you make me want to book you as a coach. I'm telling you that. You seem someone who's really equipped to help people, you know, reach their full potential and see their full potential.
Thank you very much, Katja.
Which makes me very curious to hear what else you're offering. Speaking of which, can we use the last few minutes to can you give me some insight in how you approach a coaching session? Say, like, I've seen this webinar and I think everything you say is fascinating, and you know, I have some crossroads that I'm at in life, and I want extended parenting and I just want some hand holding, and I want someone to, you know, to help me see myself in that way, you know.
Okay. Well, thank you for asking. So I offer 45-minute or 50-minute sessions, which are generally sessions of healing. So we do some meditating. There will be some hypnosis, and you will come out of that session feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, really in a better state of mind to move forward with your day and your week. However, if you want to go deeper and do some reprogramming, I have a 2-hour session, two up to 2.5 hours sometimes. You have a little bit of homework to do beforehand, and we analyze your self-concept and what your core beliefs are about yourself. And I give you some tools to start your own journey of reprogramming. And this is something that is great for people who have been in self-development and want to initiate their journey on their own, and know that a session like this will serve them well. There's a lot of inner child healing during this session. There is some hypnosis, and you will be given some instructions on what to do later for the remaining week after you have that session, and for the remaining 90 days, really, to do some reprogramming, essentially. And then there is an actual 4-month journey, which is available now online. There is a classroom that is being filled with students currently, which is very much more affordable than the one-on-one program. And that's my passion, is to extend this to as many people as possible for the journey of reprogramming those core beliefs, and setting a goal, a big enough goal that excites and frightens you, and reaching it. And also, I have a course called Who Am I right now? That is the first step. Who am I? It's 6 days, really 6 short lessons that will help you to do some introspection and find out what you're starting with. It's a great course to start the journey with. I highly recommend that. So those are all the services that I offer, and I hope that one might resonate with anyone who might be looking to shift that funky mindset that's not allowing you to move forward.
Yeah, I'm just going back into the chat. Albert, just maybe you want to have a look yourself. There were some more comments a little while ago. The fears which stop us proceed with what we really want to do, how to overcome fears. I mean, like, I think that is a good and valid question, you know, because it's one thing to be like, you know, write it down and then do it, but like, that's obviously linked to a lot of fear. So is there a recipe?
What's the question? I didn't.
Oh, I'm back in the chat. It was asked a little while ago, 20 minutes ago, by M. Elmitavali.
The fears stopping us to proceed with what we really want to do. Is that it?
Yes.
So what's the question?
I guess it was referring to, how to overcome the fears, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably also referring to what Lynette was saying. My biggest struggle is fear of the unknown, the fear of risking all my dependence. I have boundaries, but I realize they're fluid.
So the fears are liars. essentially they're just lying voices in your head. Okay, so you can give into them and believe them, or you can use tools and get help, or add to your tools to overcome them. Fears can be debilitating. They're really strong programs in the mind, in the unconscious mind. I'm not going to get too much into that, but
when you say programs, I suppose you mean socialization, right? Something we learned.
Yeah, it actually goes further, far back to evolution. So when we were living in the jungles, we were constantly on fear, because if there was a saber-toothed tiger, we would have literally lost our life if we didn't go into fight, flight, and run away and protect ourselves, right? Now this is a programming of the brain that we have today as well, because essentially this brain is still very similar to that same monkey brain or that was living in the jungles. So fear is ingrained. Yeah, when I say program, it's ingrained in the brain. We're constantly ready to become afraid. Only now, instead of the saber-toothed tiger, you've got the angry boss, or stress, all the different stress factors on a daily basis. They translate as the saber-toothed tiger and put us into a place of adrenaline and cortisol, and want to make us go into either fighting or taking flight, running away. So basically, we make most of our decisions on a daily basis based on this really strong program or belief or neural pathway in the mind called fear. But really, it's a big liar. There is no saber-toothed tiger. You're not going to die. There is no real threat, you know. The real threat is stopping yourself from growing. So how can I fight back the fears? Again, I'm going to say it again and again. There are tools that you can use. Like, it's just as simple as, for example, if I want to leave you with something, writing down your fear, like I am afraid of, and then taking a red pen and crossing it out. See how it makes you feel. This is an NLP exercise, as simple as that. Do that right now, in fact. Between the successful person and the person who is not. Right now that you heard this,
I have a frozen picture. Does anybody else have issues?
Yes, I see that. Okay, now you're back.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're back.
Yeah. All right, we're back. So yeah, write down your fear, circle it, cross it out with a red pen. Mindful of your breathing. See how it simply makes you feel. If your feeling changes, you have succeeded. You have succeeded in talking back to the fear for a moment. And that's where it begins, with that moment of disempowering the fear.
And something I said in the last webinar was also to allow yourself to start small, right? Like you don't have to like start with big goals from day one, you know, like you can just be like, I'm just going to do this one thing. And when you succeed, you're like, this felt good. This gives me the confidence to do the next thing. And it builds up and it becomes, you know, like you said, reprogramming, it becomes your new habit, you know, and you're doing it consciously and it takes effort, but that's also because you registered your successes consciously. And you're like, well, this went well. I did it. You know, I'm going to like take the next leap as well. You know, and it's I think that's a good place to start, you know, where you set small challenges for yourself, and as you succeed through them, it grows your confidence to try even bigger challenges.
Exactly. That's the only way it works, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I thought this was a fantastic hour with you. Very fascinating and very insightful and inspiring. I took lots of notes that I want to do more reading up on. you are a Talknow coach, so I can only recommend to everybody to go on talknow.online, go into find a coach and enter Hoda into the name search, or just do a little browse. I'm hoping that Hoda will have some dates and availabilities listed for you to book a session with her. And yeah, I think this is great and super helpful. And I thank you so much for being with us tonight. And
it was my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Your wisdom. I guess before we leave, does anybody else have a burning question they would like to ask? This is the time.
Elmit Wally says, fears are liars. I like it. Yeah.
I love it too. Fears are liars. That's
good.
Like I like to always say, never make decisions based on fear. If I notice myself that I want to step away from something because I'm scared, I instantly, it informs me to rethink, because fear is not a good informant to make decisions.
Exactly.
Anyway, this session will be available as a recording starting tomorrow. It'll be available on our Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and I hope you follow us on all these channels. And again, Hoda Zekavat, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us tonight. This was another great webinar, and please do join us in 2 weeks' time when we will have a new fabulous Talknow Coach webinar for you. Check our social media channels for updates on that. And I wish everybody a nice evening, a good night.
Schönen Abend noch, everyone. Love and light. Ciao, ciao.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.